Once upon a time in Italy, there was a very kind man who had 5 sons. Although they were all old enough to work, none of them wanted to go out on their own, so one day, their aging father called his sons and said, "You are all fine men now. But if you stay with me forever, you will never become independent. So, my sons, go out into the world and learn what work suits you best. But come back here after a year. You can't stay any longer than that." So the 5 sons were sad to say goodbye and decided to go their separate ways. A year later, the day came when they were all to gather together again. And while giving food to the sons who had returned tired from their long journey, the father asked them, "Come on, my sons. Tell me what you have learned since you went out into the world." The eldest son said, "I can now sneak in anything I want without anyone noticing. I'm doing well enough as the leader of thieves." Then the father said, "Oh, you've learned to get the police involved. What a worthless guy. I should have taught you to weave cloth." Then the second son said, "I've learned to make boats." "Oh, that's a fine skill. You can make a living from it. And you?" "I can draw a bow so well that I can hit a chicken in the eye." The third son said, and the father said, "That's a fine skill, too. You can earn a living from it." The fourth son said, "I can tell which herb brings the dead back to life." Then the father exclaimed, "That's wonderful. You can save us from our miserable lives. And feed many people." During the meal, the youngest son went outside to listen to the birds' voices. "I can understand birds. Oh, my goodness. But what were those little birds saying?" "They said that an ogre kidnapped the king's daughter and took her to a rocky island. But no one knows what became of her. The king said that whoever found her would give her as a bride." The father and his sons immediately stood up and asked the king to promise that they would go to rescue the princess, and that if they were successful, they would definitely have the princess. The second son quickly cut down a tree and made a boat, and they all got in and headed to the king. And the king listened to the poor father and his 5 sons' case and promised them. So they set off immediately for the rocky island. As they passed by the rocky island, they saw a big ogre sleeping on a rock with the princess's lap as his pillow. When the princess was about to stand up in joy at the sight of the boat, the eldest son signaled her to be quiet, and using his experience as a thief, he swapped the princess's knee with a big stone and rescued her without the ogre noticing. However, before the boat was far from the shore, the ogre realized that the princess was missing, and turned into a black cloud and flew through the sky, approaching the boat. The third son drew his bow and shot the ogre in the eye, causing him to fall into the sea. Everyone looked back at the princess in relief. But her heart had stopped beating in fear of the ogre chasing her. The father of the sons saw this and, clawing at his head, cried out 1,000 words about how it was all over and how all hope was gone. So the fourth son said, "Enough already. Have you forgotten what I have learned?" Then he hurried the boat back to his country and landed. The fourth son hurried to where the grass was, and when he found it, he hurried back and dripped the juice into the princess's mouth. Immediately the princess came back to life, and everyone was overjoyed and took her to the king. Now, when it was time to fulfill his promise, the king said, "You have done truly well, so as a reward, I will give my daughter to you as a bride. But to whom should I give her? The princess cannot be divided into several portions. So each of them told the king what they had done, and when the king heard them, he said that he would follow whatever he decided was good. After each person had finished telling his story, the king turned to his father and asked him, "So, what exactly have you done?" "I did many things. I sent my children out into the world and taught them the trades they know now. If they had continued like that, they would have been nothing more than containers. But now they have become such fine things." The princess was saved because each of them had worked so hard. But the king thought that the greatest contributor was their father, who was the source of what had made his 5 sons so great in the first place. So the princess married her father, and the 5 sons were given lots of money. The aged father was so happy that he felt as if he had returned to being 15 years old.